My name is Vesper Kane. I am 33 years old, and I am a corporate lawyer. My mother-in-law clinked her glass, smiled sweetly, and said, "It's honestly impressive how far someone can come, considering where she comes from." Then she turned to my father and added, "You must be proud. Not everyone escapes that kind of background." A few people laughed. Soft, sharp, controlled. My father froze. My husband said nothing. And just like that, I realized they weren't just insulting him. They were putting me in my place. Before I tell you what really happened, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Now, let's begin. I didn't react immediately. I've spent years in boardrooms where people smile while trying to destroy you. You learn to sit still, to breathe slowly, to let them talk. But this wasn't a boardroom. This was my father. He sat across from me, back straight, hands resting quietly on the table. He wore his only suit, dark gray, slightly worn at the edges. Clean, pressed, respectable, always respectable. That was who he was. And they were tearing him apart like he was nothing. "It's just a joke," my sister-in-law Sloane said, swirling her wine. "You don't have to be so sensitive about it." Sensitive. I almost smiled at that. That word people use when they want to insult you twice. My father gave a small nod. "It's all right." No, it wasn't, but he would never say that. He never complained. Not when he worked double shifts, not when his hands cracked in winter, not when he came home too tired to eat, and definitely not now. My mother-in-law, Celeste, leaned forward slightly, her eyes scanning him like he was a story she already understood. "So tell me," she said, "what exactly did you do again? Plumbing, right?" My father nodded once. "Yes." "Oh," she smiled. "That explains a lot." A pause. Then Sloane laughed again. "It really does." Mocked, laughed at, reduced, dismissed. Each word hit like a quiet slap. I felt my chest tighten, but I kept my face calm, controlled. That's what they didn't expect. They expected reaction, emotion, maybe even embarrassment. I gave them none. Across the table, my husband Adrian adjusted his sleeve, like none of this concerned him. That hurt more than anything else. Not the insults, not the laughter. Him. "You must find it different," Celeste continued, "being around this kind of environment." "This kind?" my father asked gently. She gestured around the table. The polished wood, the crystal glasses, the soft lighting. You know, refined. There it was, the line. Rich versus poor, worthy versus not. My father looked down at his plate for a second, then back up. People are people everywhere. Silence. For a moment, I thought maybe that would shut them up. It didn't. Sloane leaned in, resting her chin on her hand. "That's a nice way of saying you don't belong here." My breath caught. There it was, said out loud. No mask, no filter, just truth, ugly and sharp. A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Someone at the end of the table stopped eating. Even they felt it now, but still, no one stopped it. Adrian took a sip of his drink. Still silent. I slowly placed my fork down. The small sound echoed louder than it should have. Every head turned. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "You're being disrespectful," I said calmly. Celeste smiled like I had just proven her point. "We're being honest. Honesty without respect is just cruelty," I replied. That landed, but not enough. Sloane rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, don't turn this into a dramatic speech. We're just saying what everyone can see. He's out of place. You married into a different world. That's reality. Out of place. Different world. Reality." They stacked the insults like bricks, building a wall between my father and everyone else at that table. And they expected me to stand on their side of it. I didn't move. Inside, my heart was pounding. Loud, heavy, angry. But my voice stayed steady. "Careful what you assume." Celeste tilted her head slightly. "And what exactly are we assuming?" Before I could answer, my father spoke quietly. "Vesper, it's okay." No, it wasn't. and the fact that he was still trying to protect me, even now, made something inside me shift. Not break. Shift. Cold. Sharp. Certain. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The man who never asked for help. The man who never explained himself. The man they thought they understood. They had no idea. Sloane laughed again, softer this time. You know what I think? I think you're embarrassed. You've worked so hard to build this perfect life, and then he walks in and reminds everyone where you started. That one hit deep, because it was designed to. My throat tightened for just a second, but I didn't react. I just looked at her, then at Celeste, then at Adrian, still silent, still watching, still choosing not to stand up. The room felt heavier now, thicker, like something was about to happen. And then, the door to the dining room opened. The house manager stepped in, his face slightly tense. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he said, looking directly at my father, "but there's someone here asking for you." My father frowned. "For me?" "Yes, sir." A pause. "He said to tell you, the records have been recovered." The room went silent, completely silent. My father's expression changed. Not fear, something else. Something I had never seen before. And suddenly, I realized they had just insulted the wrong man. The room stayed silent, not the polite kind, not the awkward kind. The kind where something shifts, and everyone feels it at the same time. My father didn't move right away. He just sat there, his fingers resting lightly on the edge of the table, his eyes fixed somewhere distant. Then he inhaled slowly and stood up. "I'll be back," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. He walked out without looking at anyone. The door closed behind him, and just like that, the control in the room slipped. "What was that?" Sloane whispered, but it wasn't really a question. It was discomfort. Celeste adjusted her posture. "Probably nothing. People like him always have complications." People like him. I almost laughed. Adrian finally looked at me. "What does that even mean? Records recovered?" "I don't know," I said quietly. But that was a lie. Because something in my chest, some instinct, was already telling me this wasn't small. This wasn't random. This was something my father had kept buried. And now it was at the door. Minutes passed. Too long. The conversation didn't recover. Glasses were lifted, put down again. Someone tried to change the topic. It failed. The air was heavy, stretched thin. Then, footsteps. The door opened again. My father walked back in. But he wasn't alone. A man in a dark suit followed him. Mid-50s, sharp posture, controlled expression. The kind of man who doesn't enter rooms, he takes them. Everyone looked up. Sloane straightened. Celeste's polite smile returned instantly, that practiced, high society mask. "Yes?" Celeste said. "Can we help you?" The man didn't even look at her. His eyes were on my father. "Sir," he said respectfully, "I apologize for the delay. There was a complication securing the final file, but everything has now been confirmed." "Sir." The word hit the table like a crack. Celeste's smile faltered for half a second. My father gave a small nod. "Thank you, Daniel." Daniel, not Mr., not stranger. Name, familiar, professional. Something shifted again. Sloane leaned forward slightly. "I'm sorry, who are you?" The man turned to her, finally acknowledging the room. "Daniel Reeves, Senior Legal Advisor, Black Ridge Holdings." That name landed, hard. I saw it in Adrian's face first. His eyes widened just slightly. Then his father, who had been silent most of the night, finally looked up. Black Ridge Holdings. Not small, not ordinary. Massive, influential, dangerous, in the quiet, corporate way. "What is this about?" Adrian asked, his voice tighter now. Daniel didn't answer him. He looked back at my father. "Would you like me to proceed?" he asked. Proceed. Like this was planned. Like this was expected. My father hesitated for just a second, then nodded. Yes. That one word changed everything. Daniel reached into his briefcase and pulled out a slim folder. He placed it carefully on the table, right in front of my father. No one spoke. No one moved. After a 12-year dispute, Daniel said calmly, the courts have finalized the ownership restoration. All assets previously held under proxy management have now been legally transferred back to their original owner. My heart started pounding. Loud, heavy. Something was coming. Something big. Celeste frowned slightly. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Daniel turned to her, his expression neutral.
You don't need to, he said. That shut her up, completely. He opened the folder and slid a document forward. Mr. Rowan Kane, he continued, you are now officially reinstated as the sole owner of Kane Infrastructure Group, including all associated properties, accounts, and international holdings. Silence. Absolute silence. No one breathed. No one blinked. The words didn't just land, they detonated. Kane Infrastructure Group. I knew that name. Everyone did. It was one of the largest private infrastructure firms in the region. Billions in assets, government contracts, international reach. Power. Real power. My throat went dry. Slowly, I turned my head and looked at my father. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the paper. Quiet. Still. Like this wasn't a surprise. Just something that had finally caught up to him. Sloane let out a soft, broken laugh. That's not possible. No one answered her, because no one could. Adrian stood up suddenly. This is a mistake. It isn't, I said quietly. My voice sounded distant, even to me, because now pieces were connecting. All the years, all the silence, all the things my father never explained. It wasn't because there was nothing to say. It was because there was too much. Celeste's face had lost all color. Rowan, what is this? For the first time that night, she said his name without looking down on him. My father finally lifted his gaze and looked around the table, at every single person who had just mocked him, measured him, dismissed him. His voice, when he spoke, was calm, controlled, unshaken. I didn't think it mattered anymore, he said. The room didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't exist, because in that moment, everything they believed about him collapsed. And I realized this wasn't just a secret. This was a life he had chosen to hide. No one spoke. Not Celeste, not Sloane, not Adrian. The room just froze. You could feel it. That exact moment when
when everything people believed starts cracking, piece by piece. My father closed the folder slowly, carefully, like none of this was urgent to him. Like he had already lived through something far bigger than this room. Celeste swallowed. Rowan, you need to explain this. Her voice had changed, softer, controlled, careful, respectful. Too late. My father looked at her for a long second. Not angry, not proud, just tired. There's nothing complicated, he said. I built a company. I lost it. Now I have it back. That was it. Simple words, but behind them, years. Pain, loss, silence. Adrian stepped forward, his tone sharper now. You lost a multi-billion company. That doesn't just happen. My father met his eyes. It does. The way he said it ended the argument before it even began. Sloane shook her head, still trying to process. So what? You've been pretending all this time? Living like that? She gestured vaguely, like his entire life was something beneath. I wasn't pretending, he replied. I was living. That landed harder than anything else, because it exposed them, all of them. People who had everything, but still needed more to feel important. Celeste tried again, her voice now almost careful. But why would you hide something like that? There it was, the question they really wanted answered.
Why would a powerful man choose to look ordinary? My father leaned back slightly. Because when everything was taken from me, I learned something. No one interrupted. No one dared. I learned who stays when there's nothing left. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Final. My chest tightened because I knew that answer. I had been there, when we had nothing, when there was no company, no money, no power, just him and me. I didn't lose everything, he continued quietly. I kept what mattered. His eyes shifted to me, just for a second, and in that second, everything hit. The long nights, the sacrifices, the quiet strength. He didn't fall.
He chose what to keep and what to let go. Across the table, Sloane looked like she had just been slapped without being touched. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Mocked, laughed at, dismissed, and now exposed. Adrian ran a hand through his hair. You could have told us. Us. That word sounded hollow now. My father didn't even hesitate. You never asked. That cut deep. Because it was true. They didn't care enough to ask. They just assumed. Judged. Decided. Celeste looked down at her hands. For the first time that night, she had no control over the room. No polished response. No clever remark. Just silence. And regret. I slowly stood up. My chair moved back with a soft sound that felt louder than it should. Everyone looked at me. I didn't rush. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked around the table. At every face that had watched my father be humiliated. At every person who had said nothing. At my husband,
who still stood there, unsure what to do now that the ground beneath him had shifted. This, I said quietly, is why you should be careful who you look down on. No one responded. They couldn't, because now they were the ones exposed. Celeste finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Vesper, we didn't know. No, I interrupted gently. You didn't want to know. Silence again, sharp, uncomfortable, honest. Sloane looked down at her glass, avoiding eye contact completely now. The same woman who had laughed minutes ago now couldn't even lift her head. Public reaction, shock, embarrassment, regret. Every single thing they had made my father feel was sitting right there in their own chests, and they couldn't escape it. Adrian stepped closer to me. Vesper, let's just calm down. This doesn't have to turn into something bigger. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the man I married. Because when it mattered, he said, I'm already calm, I said. My voice was steady, clear, done. Then I turned to my father. Are you leaving? I asked softly. He nodded once. Yes. No hesitation, no looking back. I reached for my bag. I'm coming with you. That surprised them. I saw it, the final shift. Not just power, choice. Adrian's voice came fast now. Vesper, wait! I didn't. I picked up my coat, walked around the table, and stood beside my father, together, where I had always belonged. Behind me, Celeste spoke again, desperate now. Rowan, we should talk, properly. We didn't realize. My father paused at the door, but he didn't turn around. You realized enough, he said calmly. And that was the end of that. He opened the door, we stepped out, and the silence behind us stayed there. Forever. Outside, the air felt different, colder, cleaner, real. We walked toward the gate in silence for a few steps. Then I finally spoke. Why didn't you tell me? My voice was quiet, not angry, just searching. He stopped. looked at me, and for the first time that night, there was something vulnerable in his eyes.